Well, I know you don't think Carson's the problem. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It is great to be here with all of you. We have an exciting show in store, an hour show, actually. We have our first special guest coming on in a little while. Today, we'll be breaking down the Philadelphia Eagles' barely win last night against the New York Football Giants. We'll be talking about the NFL games this weekend, doing some predictions there, as well as break down the predictions for the World Series as we go into the weekend. And then finally, we have our special guest coming on to discuss Penn State football. With that being said, as always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. Gavin, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Zach. Listen, we also got exciting news for this weekend as well. We're going golfing, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the wait is over. We're going to see what Zach is really made about versus me. We're not going to the actual real golf course, ladies and gentlemen. My range of motion in my back is not the best, so I had to work it in the golf form, Zach, as you want to call it. But Zach, tell the people what's going on Saturday.
We're playing some mini golf. We might take a look at the golf simulator. We'll see what's going on when we get there. But we are going to play 18 holes of mini golf. It should be exciting. Gavin apparently thinks he's going to beat me. I don't know about that. But you guys can make your predictions.
I'm shooting 4 under.
We will supply
4 under, sir.
I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough one for you. But I think I'll prevail. We'll see who wins. We do need to have some sort of incentive, though. What's going to happen to the loser?
You're going to say something. You're going to be on the Michael Jordan train for a whole week.
I wouldn't say a whole week. I'll give you one day of talking nice about Michael Jordan. You got to talk nice.
Oh no, it's gonna be a whole week. Trust me. Like as many times.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Listen, sir. As many times as you play golf, I could get a whole weekend because you know why? I haven't picked up a golf club in a couple months.
But you're once on my practice green.
But listen, I'm telling you, I'm shooting 4 under. Y'all can hold me to that too. I'm shooting 4 under.
I gotta look at the scorecard. I gotta pull it out. It's gonna be all fancy, but it'll be a good time. I know that for sure.
Heck yeah, always a great time. Always a great time when we when we do something just like our lunch.
It's always a good time. We are overdue to do that again. But with the changing schedules and the timing, I'm not really that appetized at 10 in the morning to eat PJs. But nothing.
It's gonna be one of a breakfast now, sir.
Oh, I know, right? We're going to have to go out to a good breakfast restaurant. Anyone recommend some spots, we'll have to get to it. But coming up first here, I am not necessarily thrilled, but I'm not sad. As I said in the beginning, you better not think Carson Wentz is the problem. I'm going to make that pretty clear right now because the man sitting to my right early in the year was talking about the Jalen Hurts hat. And he's spoken highly of Carson Wentz. He's praised Carson Wentz, and I gave him respect for that. But before the season even started, he was talking about, well, maybe Carson Wentz is going to be benched by the middle of the year. Maybe Jalen Hurts is going to get him. I don't know if he was referring to bad play or injuries, but Gavin had a fair argument, and I hope that it has stopped. And there's people out there, I know a couple people specifically, every time Carson Wentz does something, I see on Snapchat, they're typing, it's like, bench him, Jalen Hurts, a dropped interception. Yes, dummy, dropped interceptions are part of the game. Everyone's got him. He threw no interceptions against Baltimore, one of the best secondaries in the league. Oh, well, there's a few dropped interceptions. Every quarterback has that. Yeah, he had a horrible pick last night. A horrible pick. I don't know what he was doing. All right? But once he starts making good plays, they don't say, oh, keep him in. We got to go both ways, man. You can't say, oh, nope, not his fault. Gavin, if I sat here in the beginning of the year and said our wide receivers were Travis Fulgham, John Hightower, and Greg Ward, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are hurt, and you only have one starting offensive lineman, against the schedule the Eagles have, do you think they'd be a winning team right now?
Well, Zach, if I would have knew the whole damn team was going to be hurt again, I wouldn't have the Jalen Hurts hat out. I think it's a little absurd for people to still have it out, considering every time we see Jalen Hurts under center, he only threw one pass, Zach. He's 1 for 1. But everything else, he hasn't really done anything else. But, Zach, if this team was fully healthy, and I'm going to throw it back at you in just a second, if this team was fully healthy, it's a different story, in my honest opinion.
Well, Carson Wentz plays well with a fully healthy team.
Well, Carson Wentz also plays better with a fully unhealthy team as well.
He statistically had a better year. They weren't winning a lot of games because their defense was doing terrible. But statistically speaking, Carson Wentz had a better year after his ACL injury than the MVP season. So I don't want to hear that BS either. Nick Foles came in and saved the day. BS. All right? Because they actually ran the ball when Nick Foles came. We talked about this before. And I thought any Nick Foles-Carson Wentz conversation was shut up last year in the last 3 weeks of the year. Oh,
It should have been.
congratulations. You beat the Giants. You beat the Washington football team. You beat the Cowboys when Dak was hurt. Hello, your team wasn't good. The Eagles are not a good football team. As far as talent is concerned, I think Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram, who had a failed hurdle last night, those guys easily are better skill players than what the Eagles have. The Eagles, by skill-wise, are probably the worst team in the division. All right? The only reason people think they're good is because of their quarterback. But I think it's funny when people don't like Carson Wentz, but they expect their team to be winning. The only reason they'd be winning is because of their quarterback. All right? I don't want to hear anything else today. No Miles Sanders, no Zach Ertz, no Dallas Goedert. Those were the guys last year. Those last 3 games of the year, it was Zach Ertz. It was Dallas Goedert. It was Miles Sanders. It was Boston Scott. You had one of those guys last night. One of them. So I don't want to hear anything when people are telling me, oh, my goodness, Carson Wentz is playing terrible. Do you see what he's working with? Do you see who he plays against? He kept the Eagles in it against 2 of the best defenses in the league. I don't know what happened yesterday, why they stalled out. I mean, the play calling is atrocious.
Actually, Zach, if I may real quick.
Doug Peterson could play call, they would have won that game 31-14.
Well, Zach, if I may real quick, just hop in for a quick second. They dominated the time of possession last night. All right? They had dominated. They had most play. It should have been 28-7 if the team was good, if they were healthy. That game should have been relatively close at all. And there's something about this game that I really didn't like, but I'm gonna get in that after
It's the play calling. It's when you got to step up. You know who did step up at the end though? Carson Wentz.
Yes.
When the play calling was bad, who was getting out of the pocket? A great throw across his body to the middle of the field to Richard Rodgers on that second to last drive. That absolute dime to Travis Fulgham. That absolutely perfect throw to Boston Scott. I can name 2 throws last night I didn't like from Carson Wentz. He overthrew Boston Scott wide open and the interception. Every quarterback will have 2 or so bad throws a game. Carson Wentz is not perfect. Carson Wentz makes a lot of mistakes. Carson Wentz tries too hard to keep a play alive sometimes. But you know why I'm okay with that? Because a lot of the plays last night, when it mattered the most, Carson Wentz evaded the pocket and did his job. I don't want to hear it. Carson Wentz is the only reason this team is winning right now. I mean, look at Dallas. They got everything they want. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. They had a good O-line. That O-line is banged up right now. Unfortunately, Dak got hurt, and now they've fallen off entirely. But if you put Carson Wentz in that situation, they'd be doing great. All right? The reason, and again, I've been back and forth on the Dak versus Carson argument. But I am confident that if Dak Prescott, no disrespect to him at all, if Prescott was on this team and Carson was on that team, the Cowboys would be doing better than the Eagles. There's not a doubt in my mind. Does it talk about this, what the skill positions are more? I don't know. But frankly, I got to be honest with you. Okay? At the end of the day, no matter how many wins the Eagles have, do not forget about the fact that Doug Peterson has terrible play calling and terrible decision-making, and Howie Roseman has failed to surround Carson Wentz with the right talent. Therefore, it is incredibly unfair to say that you should put Jalen Hurts in. If you think Jalen Hurts should go into that game, you know nothing about football. And it's no disrespect to him. He's got a great story. I love the Taysom Hill role he has. Gavin, what's the difference between that first drive with the touchdown and those last 2 drives? It was Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was in the game, and it doesn't directly mean Jalen Hurts is the reason we won, but it demonstrates the creativity. Why does it disappear in the middle of the game? Why does Doug Peterson fade and change his play calling in the middle of the game? If you have 12 to 15 plays that work from the script that worked on the first drive, do it again until they stop you.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Zach. That's the saying that's been used for years and years now. My takeaway from last night's game was, first one, Zach, you talk about Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz. We all know how I feel about Dak Prescott. I love the guy, all right. You know I wanted Zach. Zach, you know I wanted him to get his money. But here's the one argument where Eagles fans forget to stick up for Carson Wentz is this. We never seen Dak Prescott with practice squad players before.
You'd never seen Mahomes with it either. Remember that?
We never seen him with 3rd and 4th stringers, right?
We saw Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs.
Exactly. So, Zach, takeaways from last night. The defense looked horrible again. And here's what I mean horrible. It's not the offense that's the problem, because arguably the offense the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks looked great in my eyes. Zach, I could.
Yesterday they spun out of control, but that's because of play calling.
It's about yeah, but when it was there, it was there. Discipline a little bit needs to be there. Greg Ward got Giants defenders got under his skin. I can understand that. As a man, you want to protect yourself. But Zach, I have no problems with this offense. I had no problems with this offense for the last 2 to 3 weeks. I had no problem with Carson Wentz for the last 3 weeks.
So you shouldn't have had a problem with him since the beginning of that Bengals game. Since that Bengals game, there should be no problems with Carson.
I haven't had a problem with Carson.
We're almost done with the NFC North. The only game left is Cleveland, and I'm sorry, but if you can't beat Cleveland, I mean, all you got to do is stop the run and make Baker throw.
Here's my number two thing, and I'm gonna get to my number one. Did you see how bad Jake Elliott has been? Ladies and gentlemen, go back to the Pittsburgh game. Regardless if we win or not, we should have 30 points on the board. And
we would have been in the lead in the Ravens game. We would have been
exactly. We went in the lead with the Ravens. He and last night too. Oh my gosh, this guy he is bad, Zach. He is bad. And I hate to say it because I like Jake Elliott, but he is bad. But the one thing that and Jim Schwartz, I've been saying that for the past 2-3 years now. Me and my dad, we've been saying that for the past 2-3 years. And we want Jim Schwartz gone. We want him gone. He can't coach a defense to save his life. He had so much talent on his defense before when it comes to defensive line, and it doesn't make. And how are you missing sacks? How is Benny Curry going to go high and miss Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones is not.
He was about LeBlanc as well last night with that Golden Tate touchdown. He should have been there.
Exactly.
They're lacking discipline, which shows a lot of coaching issues.
Also, too, Zach,
penalties Darius Slay's ever had. Honestly, this year he's had a lot of penalties on him.
Also, too, Zach, for goodness sakes, and I mean this too. Daniel Jones is not that athletic, ladies and gentlemen. Why is he running 80 yards?
2 miles per hour.
21 miles per hour. All right, I get it, Zach. Everybody.
Fastest QB run since 2018.
He did it last week too, but that was a great fake last week versus the Redskins. Football team. My husband. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. That was a great fake versus the football team last week. But this week, there was nobody. The first person to touch him was Jalen Mills, and he fell to the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, Daniel Jones, I don't know how the hell you did that. That was actually kind of funny in my eyes, Zach. I know I can't run 80 yards, so I'm not the one to be talking.
Air tackle of some sorts.
But you know what really upsets me, Zach, about last night? And this is the Deshaun Jackson injury. That's pure disgusting. He was already down. There's no need to launch at him and bend his knee backwards. And the reason why it's really upsetting, because if that is a torn ACL, Zach, his career's over with. He's 33, 34 now. He's age. No one's going to want to sign him if it's an ACL injury. No one's going to want to sign him. That's where I'm morally pissed off at. I'm not mad about the whole thing. We won, all right? But forget that. You did a dirty play, and the Giants were playing aggressive and dirty all night last night. I don't know if that was just my eyes or what I watched, or anyone in the comment section tell me. Zach, if Deshaun Jackson has a torn ACL, something has to be done about this. Make an example out of this, because that was unnecessary. That was really unnecessary.
You know, we'll get to that in a few minutes. We do have some reports coming, and we'll supply them from Adam Schefter making some tweets. But before we get to that, Gavin, you're criticizing the defense, and I get it. It's frustrating down the stretch. But you have to give them credit. They forced 3 turnovers: a Diallo fumble, a Jalen Mills pick, and the strip by Brandon Graham at the end of the game. They gave up 21 points, Gavin. I'm not sure what there's to be too angry. The offense failed to execute in a lot of areas.
My criticism for the defense. My criticism for the defense isn't so much this last night. It's just some of the plays that were given up where there was big plays. 14 and 14 getting first downs, missed tackles. That's just discipline. But if I look at the last 2 weeks, I look at Chase Claypool's 4 touchdown. Why is the word Nathan Gary on who had a big sack last night? Why is Nathan Gary on Chase Claypool at the end of the game? Where's one of our good corners? Where's somebody? Anybody but Jerry? Then I go back to last week. I know Baltimore's a powerhouse, but when Lamar Jackson was having his way running the football.
No, they contain Lamar pretty well, in my opinion.
I know, but when on a 50-yard run,
tight ends, it was all the throw to Nate Boyle in the end zone. I mean, you're right. It's frustrating to watch, but at the end of the day, you got to think about the other side of the ball. What's the offense doing? How many turnovers are they giving?
So when we talk about Washington, right? When we go back to let's go back to week 1. You talk about Washington. Zach.
That's because of the turnovers. The turnovers give them short field.
Turnovers, yes. Short field, yes. But
they couldn't create turnovers in the first. The only turnover they had going into the first 3 weeks was the Cooper Kupp muff punt.
Exactly, and then so you go in the next week versus the Rams, and the defense looked horrible that game.
Yeah, defense looked bad that game.
You go against Joe Burrow. You kind of stop the run game, but Joe Burrow has his way through the air. You tie. You go after that. You go to Pittsburgh, and you put up a great fight versus Pittsburgh. Actually, I thought you were going to come out with that game. You're getting turnovers. You're getting interceptions and stuff. You lose because you put Nathan Jerry on. Oh, excuse me, I missed a game in 49ers. But there's key things. You're letting one person on the offense beat you. George Kittle, even though they didn't win, even though the 49ers didn't win that game, George Kittle had 15 receives, 14 catches. Chase Claypool had 4 touchdowns. I never heard of Chase Claypool before that game. I never heard of him. Last week you kind of did you did your job versus Baltimore. That's the thing. Last night it looked like Daniel Jones was going to beat you last night. Luckily, the Giants got in their own damn way, like what they always do. Zach, I'm just saying we can't not keep making. We always talk about the offense and the play calling, Zach. Right? We always talk about that, but we gotta look at the other areas too. Let's look at how Jake Elliott's missing kicks. Let's look at how the defense is.
If Jake Elliott can make his kicks, you probably have. I'd say one between the Steelers game and the Baltimore game. Honestly, if Jake Elliott
would have Baltimore,
I think that you arguably could have won the Baltimore game, so that I give you one win there. And if the play calling was better, I mean that would win you the Baltimore game as well. Probably the Steelers game would be a part of it. It is play calling. Is it as good as Carson Wentz is? Is that how far this team will go? That's kind of the position you want to be in as a quarterback. But it takes a lot of effort when you don't have a lot of talent around you to be able to do that. And that is what is unfortunate for this team because you
put his health in there too.
Was that
put his health in there too? As long as he's healthy, as far as
he's taking a lot of hits right now. If you think I'm going to talk about this like with Max Kellerman for those who watch ESPN, they know the narrative. He doesn't like Carson Wentz. His argument of why he didn't like Wentz was because of the reports from Josina Anderson that came out of the locker room that players have a problem with Wentz. And Gavin, we both. I'm not going to just throw you under the bus here. We both cited that early in the season. If you think today, after last season, and after these past few games, that Carson Wentz's teammates don't love him or that he doesn't want to win, then get out of here. It's wrong. The hits, the blocks he's throwing out there. He threw a block out to one of the Niners' corners, and they were hand fighting. What other quarterback does that? They just stand there on those plays. Look at Drew Brees when he does that. I know you're not fond of Drew Brees.
Look at Matt Ryan. He tripped and fell and didn't do anything.
Wants to win. Carson Wentz will do whatever he can. He's taking hits left and right. Oh, my goodness. Slide. He's been playing soft for 2 years, and he's ticked off. He's like, damn it, I'm done being soft. All right? Oh, my goodness. 2 guys got him with an ACL injury. I'd rather have a chance at winning at an injury than lose and be passive. All right? It's absolutely ridiculous.
So, Zach, my question for you is
playing soft. What do you want him to do? Drop back and stand there for 10 minutes? No one gets open quickly. Run a damn slant if you want him to do that. All right?
But here's my question for you, Zach. Hold on.
Everybody moving over and the O-line is injured. You need him to get out of the pocket. And the failure to coach him correctly is one of the main reasons why he has regressed and why this team has regressed since 2017. And damn it, get that Nick Foles BS out of here. Get that Jalen Hurts stuff out of here. Until Doug Peterson can prove he can run a balanced playbook and he can win games using his head, then I don't want to hear anything about changing the personnel.
Well, let me ask you this, Zach. You talk about playing soft, all right, and I agree. I came out and said this. 2017, the year Carson Wentz, which in my honest opinion should have been MVP, regardless of how quickly it ended or not, Carson Wentz was running a lot. Is he going back to this style format? Because I believe so.
I think so, and he should be.
I believe so. And my last thing, and my last question for you is, why the hell did you bring back Corey Clement when Boston Scott is actually still effective?
I wouldn't say he's been effective all year. He had a good night last night for sure. They had the other kid too. I don't remember his name. Huntley. I don't even know where he came from. That's the point. You don't know where you guys are coming from. Let me see Mahomes do that. I find it really hard to believe that Mahomes would even have the success with this team. Carson Wentz does not get the credit he deserves at all. I know he takes a lot of heat. Carson Wentz takes a lot of heat. All right. The post-game show for the Eagles, they called Carson Wentz an idiot a few weeks ago, saying I don't trust his decision making. Are you sure it's that?
He looks decisive to me.
Look here, Patrick Mahomes. One of the best O-lines in the league, arguably the second or third best offensive coach of all time, despite the fact he only has 1 ring, and amazing receivers. All right, Dak
Prescott. Amazing weapons. Let's put the running back too.
Prescott. And again, no disrespect to him. I know he's hurt, but that's not going to change my thoughts on this. All the talent in the world last year, one of the better defenses when Leighton Vander Esch was healthy. You had Byron Jones. You had a few other guys going for you. And you go 8-8. Oh, it's Jason Garrett's fault. Let's fire Jason Garrett. But this year it's the same story. Stat pad. And again, no disrespect to him at all. I think he should get paid because any second your career can be ended. That's unfortunate in football. But they don't blame Dak Prescott last year. No one blamed Dak Prescott with his 15 plus interceptions last year. No one blamed Dak Prescott on his inability to be able to complete a pass against the Patriots last year. Nobody blames Dak Prescott. So why is Wentz getting thrown under the bus? I didn't realize Dak Prescott was the guy who was leading the MVP race. One reason they were 13-3 is because of Ezekiel Elliott. I find it really hard to believe that Dak Prescott without Zeke is going to be able to win 13 games. That's just and they had Des Bryant that year too, who, by the way, got signed by Baltimore on the practice squad. I don't think we had a chance.
That's back page news. No disrespect to Des Bryant, but that's really back page news. I'm not worried about you. You haven't been good ever since Tony Romo left. Your best friend.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like the Dak versus Carson, my argument is that Dak can sit back and do the basics, which is true, but he can't throw a team on his back, and that's why
here's
he's
the thing.
top dollar.
Here's the one thing. The one thing Dak and Carson Wentz is really separated from that no one. The one argument that really separates them is what I just brought up. Put Dak behind nobody, and let's see what he does. When you're going out with your only starters last night was Avonte Matt or on offense. Because I'm not going to bring on defense, was Lane Johnson, Deshaun, and Jason Kelsey. And by the way, Lane Johnson, if you're not healthy, sit down, dude.
And two of those guys were out by halftime or third quarter.
Exactly.
It was Kelsey and Wentz. And they won.
The end of it.
They beat a Giants defense that is top 15. I think they were actually 12 ranked. So they're not bad, the defense. And Carson sliced them up like butter with the last 5 minutes to go. So I don't want to hear it. If you think Carson Wentz is the issue with this football team, you got to reevaluate your football IQ, man. And that's with nothing short of disrespect for anyone that thinks Carson Wentz needs to be benched. All right, and especially for Jalen Hurts, and it's not disrespect for him. But what are you gonna do putting a rookie back behind that O-line? Let me see someone else do this. And by the way, Jordan Mailata will be the starting left tackle in the future. I do think that actually.
You think Andre Dillard's time is over?
I think they're going to look to either move Dillard to guard or trade him. Because I think Jordan Mailata is the guard of the future.
Zach, real quick, one last thing. If you could say anything to the Jalen Hurts fans, and we know one in our one class. If there's anything you'd like to say, what would you like to say to them right now?
Good luck.
Good luck. Good luck.
Watch him against an S. Again, it's no disrespect for him, but he's not NFL ready. All right, the fact that you think he's better than Carson Wentz is ridiculous. The fact that you think he's going to do better, like, oh my gosh, like with the whole argument with Nick Foles, they played harder for Nick Foles. No, they didn't. They just ran the ball and had some tempo. The coaching is really, I don't understand why the coaching fluctuates so much between quarterbacks. It does. The stats agree. That's what I look at. I watch the film. I review it. All right, because I was once calling for Nick Foles to be in the game when Carson was struggling at halftime against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football when they lost Golden Tate's first game with the team, if you guys remember that. I was calling for Nick Foles to come in. And then I started watching film. I started reviewing stuff. Carson Wentz statistically had a better year than the year before. The only difference is in the Titans game, they couldn't get the offense going in the second half. Carson Wentz actually missed a throw in that game. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the Panthers game that he missed a bad throw into an open receiver. But the inability to coach him up is a problem too. You can't just throw a dog out there surrounded by wolves and expect him to protect himself. You gotta help out. And if you think that you shouldn't help out, then you don't understand how Tom Brady became successful. All right, Drew Brees was nothing special in San Diego. Sean Payton made him more of that. Patrick Mahomes was a good quarterback, a top 10 draft pick, obviously. Andy Reid helped form him, and they got a great offensive staff there. Sam Darnold has a terrible coach, and look how he's doing. Josh Allen's got Sean McDermott. You
can't throw Sam Darnold in there. You cannot really throw Sam Darnold in there. I don't want to hear
Jared Goff. You think Carson Wentz is worse than Jared Goff?
No. Carson Wentz is better than Jared.
Good coach.
Listen, talent. I'll take Carson Wentz any day with Jared Goff, and here's the reason why. It's easy to look good when you had Todd Gurley running behind you.
Eagles never had that. And they had a good run game in 2017. That's the big difference. And Frank
Zach, I want to bring this up. You're right. I think because we always talk about how efficient Carson Wentz was in the red zone in 2017. Do you remember they had a guy named Garrett Blunt?
Last year, by the way, too. Actually, he had the best touchdown interception ratio since 2016, I think, in the red zone.
Why do you think Marcus Mariota was really good in the red zone? I don't know, because there's a monster named Derrick Henry, and DeMarco Berry was respectively there as well in the backfield, in the red zone. You got to worry about one of those two monsters, and you got Marcus Mariota. People forget that LeGarrette Blount was a big success for Carson Wentz.
That's why Jordan Howard worked last year, which, by the way, he is on the trade block. Eagles, go give him a call.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to come back here.
2-year, $10 million. I'd take it.
I'll take it.
Him, Miles Sanders, and Boston Scott. Like, who's stopping that? Do you remember Jordan Howard against the Packers last? I mean, anyone can run. I mean, I could run with the Packers. You can run.
You were there. You were there, sir. So it doesn't get any better.
Jordan Howard. I like Jordan Howard. I think Jordan Howard really could be a good piece of this offense again. But I don't see. I think that honestly, the skill positions are getting better. But the coaching could so be there. These teams, they play with such disrespect to our receivers. You can easily do underneath routes to them. Watch any other football team. Watch how simple their playbooks are and compare it to the Eagles. It's a big difference. I've been saying this for years. The play calling needs to change.
At the end of the year, when it's all said and done, regardless of how the Eagles season finished out, which I believe it will be in the playoffs, Zach, is Doug Pearson still going to be the guy at the end of this year? Will he be here next year?
Get an offensive coordinator and give him the reins. Can Doug Pearson motivate his players? Sure. Is he bold and makes big decisions? Sure. But
does it cost him sometimes?
Well, why does it cost him? Because he has bad play calling. So let him be the big decision maker. One more year at least. He deserves it. This is a new take that I'm taking. I used to call for his job directly. Bring in another coach to be your offensive coordinator and your play caller. Let them play the calls, and then Doug can make the big decisions and contribute. But Doug gets lost in his own way. Doug gets in his own way. And the best advice I would say is you can keep him on because he's motivated these guys, obviously. When you have third stringers and you have all these backups and someone's motivating them, and I think that Peterson's a big part of that. So you take that factor and you accept, okay, this could potentially be still a good head coach. What is the goal of football, Gavin? It's to win the Super Bowl, right?
Always.
And the Eagles did that. And what was the relationship that year? They had a head coach and they had a great offensive coordinator. Doug was the play caller. But it's prevalent that you can make this work again. And you can make this work. Carson Wentz is doing whatever he can out there. Get yourself a good offensive play caller and let him call the plays. And if that doesn't work, well, then you're going to start a rebuild. Maybe not rebuild as far as tank, but as far as the front office, as far as all of that, those moves. And I really hope Jalen Reagor comes back and does well, or else Howie Roseman needs.
Listen, Zach. You know what? You do hope he comes back and do well. So do I. But there's a little deeper meaning in that because you know what, Zach? Every week when Justin Jefferson has 100 yards, guess who's the first person to let you know? Like that.
Yeah. You also drafted Donald Pumphrey in a year where you could have gotten so much other talent. I don't get how hard it is to take the easy shot. But I hope Reagor comes back and proves us wrong. But John Hightower was good last night. John Hightower he had one bad job against the Ravens. He's coming into his own now. I'm starting to like him, honestly.
Zach, my final take for the Eagles is in the offseason, can we become buyers? Damn it. Instead of watchers, can we become buyers? Hello, you're not going to find great offensive line like Dallas did in the draft. You got to become buyers at some point. Howie. That's my final thoughts.
Julio Jones is up for trade, possibly.
Can we become buyers? Do it. Got money to do it. You got money.
What happens when Travis Fulgham's on his game? Carson Wentz looks unstoppable.
You know what? But listen to this.
And trade Zach Ertz, please. Trade Zach Ertz.
And listen to this, Zach. I was talking to Dom yesterday about this. He says sign Travis Fulgham because Travis Fulgham's going to be a problem. He's the only tall receiver you got.
And trade Alshon too. Trade Alshon. Trade Zach Ertz. It's time to move.
You can get Julio Jones. You can get Julio Jones. Hell, maybe get rid of Jalen Hurts too. I know there's not a lot of people don't like that. Marquise Goodwin owes us a year. He's coming back next year. It's going to look scary next year, as we always say. We're starting to fall into Cowboys. We don't say we're going to win the Super Bowl next year. We just always talk about next year.
They can still make some moves this year. Honestly, I would do my best to go out and make.
Do you think Howie becomes a buyer this trade deadline? I don't believe so.
I think we need another corner. I think that was or a linebacker. Honestly, I trade Zach Ertz.
I'll take a linebacker first.
Trade Zach Ertz in a third rounder for a legit linebacker, who's a team that's going downhill that you can use a linebacker for. Could have drafted Patrick Queen in the first round. Honestly, if I knew we were going to have Reagor out with injury, I'd get Patrick Queen.
Go to break because every time I think about the draft, we think about a lot of things. Zach, think about DK, think about Patrick Queen, think about Justin Jefferson. Could trade up, got CD Lamb. By the way, looks like a stud. Didn't look like it last week. Looks like a stud in Dallas when Dak's there. Could have had a lot of people. He went in the second round. He could have got somebody else. So does Jalen Hurts.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. We'll see. Coming up after this.
You picked two Jalen's. You realize that you picked two Jalen's.
And the third rounder middle name is Jalen. I did actually see that.
Howie loves Jalen.
Davion Jalen Taylor.
Well, maybe Howie has another kid named Jalen then, since you loaded name Jalen.
All right. Coming up after this, we're going to talk about Deshaun Jackson. There is an injury update from Adam Schefter. Then we got a couple other things, including the World Series predictions. And finally today, when our guest comes on, we'll be talking about Penn State football on Big Noon Saturday for the first time in over a year. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public,
We are now supporting a custom design mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode.
Welcome back, everyone. It is looking like it's not to the severity that Gavin had mentioned, possibly the tear on the ACL. It is possibly a high ankle sprain. They are going to get an MRI on it, and that would be, for his age group, at least a pretty severe injury. And I said in the offseason, I think I tweeted, if your thought process is to have expectations for a 33-year-old receiver to stay healthy, then you're out of your mind. But they have some speed on this offense. They got to learn to work it out, Gavin. It really is a coaching issue. I don't debate that the skill positions aren't there. Craig Ward, every time they give him a chance, he does well. Right? Every time Boston Scott gets a legit chance, he does well.
I was fighting for Greg Ward to have a actual roster spot. Remember that, Zach?
Yeah.
I was fighting for that.
But honestly, here, Deshaun Jackson, that was a dirty hit. We already covered that earlier, but he's here for another year, man. What are you looking to do with him? You can't rely on him anymore. You just can't. And the Eagles did do their best to expect this by getting Marquise Goodwin. Now, to his reasons, he opted out respectively.
He'll be back next year, though.
You got John Hightower, who's looking not terrible right now after his drop last week, but he gets open. All you got to do is catch the ball, and he can learn. He's not like Nelson Aguilar, I hope. Gavin, don't meet him. Do not meet John Hightower, please.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
Please don't meet him.
Okay, relax.
Everyone Gavin meets, they turn to garbage, but
okay, I'm on the Midas touch, just the opposite version.
Exactly. Go back. I think
I didn't really ruin Deshaun Watson, so you can't really put that on me. Leonard Fournette, maybe.
No. The problem is he spread it to Bill O'Brien, so it did come from you.
Well, but listen, Bill O'Brien.
Wait.
I did. Yes, I did. I did.
Yeah,
I did. All right, we get it. We
talked about it on Tuesday. Go back.
Okay, we get it.
Go back to Tuesday's show and watch it. The bottom line is that
I didn't ruin Jamal Adams.
You run the whole Jets. You spread it. It's contagious.
Well, first of all, Adam Gase is contagious. All right, everything he touches turns to garbage. Luckily, Jamal Adams got out of there, and Le'Veon Bell proved me wrong. But listen, Zach, I want to say something real quick. John Ross, you should have shook my hand when I saw you, buddy. You should have did that. That was a little hurtful. You walked right by me. You're not.
Wait. So we should trade for him because he's going to be good.
No, he's not going to be good.
You didn't talk to him.
Oh no, he didn't shake my hand. No, he walked by.
That's good. We want John Ross now.
It wasn't good. It hurt my feelings.
He's going to come back and ball out now, though. Don't worry.
Yeah, I hope not.
No, we want him here. We want him in Philly.
I don't know. He didn't shake my hand. If he wants to come to the city, he has to shake my hand. Shake my hand. But no, ladies and gentlemen, look. I do not partake in what Zach is talking. I plead the fifth on that one. It's blasphemous what he just said. But look,
have you met any Sixers? I didn't went over this already.
Sixers players I've met. I was close to Joel Embiid, but I did not speak to.
All right, good. Don't get near Joel.
Oh, first of all, Zach, we can stop. I did meet TJ McConnell and the crew, but they're gone, so you don't got to worry about that.
All right, good. He's doing well for Indiana.
And Jaleel Okafor, I met him, but he's gone as well.
Perfect.
All right. Well, maybe I have to meet Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid.
Do not meet Doc. Please don't meet Doc Rivers.
Maybe I will meet Doc Rivers and I'll change the look around. Maybe that might be. It might.
So those who are Doc Rivers.
Look, Zach. I met Steph Curry. They won championships. What's your point?
Don't touch Doc Rivers.
Don't put it like that. But anyway,
don't take that out of context. Anybody, Gavin's chilling.
Yeah. No, don't worry, Doc Rivers. I love you, buddy. But trust me, if I get to meet you, I promise I'll stay 6 feet apart.
But I do have a quick question though, as far as that's concerned. Here, as we're getting to, we have the World Series predictions coming up in just a minute. But Gavin, I do have to ask you this question. There are some rumors speculating that Kawhi Leonard will leave the Clippers in free agency in 2021. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, he is a fun guy. Look, Zach, Kawhi Leonard is a top 5 small forward, and I'll put him at number 5.
All time or right now?
No. Now all time is a different story, and he's nowhere near. I put maybe in defense. Maybe in defense. I put him maybe a top 10 in defense, but there was a lot of great defenders.
Okay.
5 for right now. Giannis is not classified as a small forward, by the way.
No, yeah, Giannis is a power forward. He's a forward.
Right now it goes LeBron, Kevin Durant, think you had to put maybe Kawhi goes at 3.
I think Kawhi would go at 3. I'm trying to think who else would there be?
Jason Tatum, or is that power forward? I think I consider Jason Tatum small forward, really.
He's a small forward in my eyes.
Then you would put Jason Tatum in front of Kawhi Leonard? Because Jason Tatum, no?
Kawhi is better than Jason Tatum. There's no doubt.
Okay, that's fine. And then the fifth
Kawhi
guy,
Leonard is 3. Kevin Durant and LeBron James are barely over him.
and the fifth guy, I don't know, but maybe you could put not Rudy Gay, but I don't know. Rudy Gay wasn't that bad.
Bogdan Bogdanovic, possible future Sixer.
Okay, well, he's a shooter. He's a shooter. I'll take it.
Sixers need shooters. Go to the Kings and make a big trade. Trade Horford and Harris. We'll see what happens. But getting back here, we are talking about another night.
Maybe Jimmy Butler's a small forward, top 5.
Yes, he'd be number 3. I put him after Kawhi Leonard, and I put Tatum at 5. There you go.
Okay.
Top 5. LeBron, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum.
All right, there we go.
All right, now another night of sports. And another night to Joe Buck.
Sorry.
What did you say?
I was going to say maybe you could put Brandon Ingram in there. Maybe. No. Excuse me. He comes at number 6, maybe 6.
I put him top 10. I don't know if I put him 6. I would have to have all the small forwards in the league in front of me to be able to make that work. But yes, another night and another night of listening to Joe Buck as Game 3 of the World Series continues tonight. The Dodgers are actually making the right decision on the mound tonight. It's going to be a good night pitching. Gavin, over under 5 strikeouts per team. We'll say 10 strikeouts tonight. You go over under.
I'm gonna go over. I think they're gonna get a
little at 9, right?
Yeah. Look, Zach. Both these guys have the stuff to do the punch out, and they've been doing it all postseason long. Especially Charlie Morton. He has an ERA of 0.87, and Walker Buehler has an ERA I think of 1.2 or something. One of the numbers, but they combine of an ERA of 1 something. It's really low, Zach. Both of them combined. That's all you guys need to know. I'm going with over. I think they're going to get a combined of 8 strikeouts each, and that's going to combine to 16.
I will see what happens. I mean, and we'll see how many of them are able to execute. But I think that it's important that for the Dodgers' sake, they really need to get some offense early. You got to get their pitching. You got to get into their bullpen. You got to get deeper into them. And so that was the problem. They went to a bullpen game. The Dodgers did, and they lost their momentum. That was a big mistake for them. They lose this series. I'm gonna argue that that's why.
Well, Zach, I'm going to go back to Game 2. You should put Walker Buehler around Game 2 because think about it. You come back today and you have a 2-0 lead, and if you throw like a Tony Gosselin out there yesterday and do the stunt you did the other day, it would be 2-1, not 1-1. Zach, it would have been 2-1, and you would have been up 2-0. It would have been Walker Buehler versus Blake Snell, but you decided to do the wrong way. If they lose this series, I'm going to blame this all on Dave Roberts. For poor choice on pitching. Zach, we talked about this. 2-0 going into a rest, you don't matter who you use. But you're right, Zach. If you get offense early, you got there's 2 sides of the Rays bullpen. If they're winning, they're going to use Fairbanks and Castillos and the crew. If they're losing, you're not going to see those arms. You're going to see somebody else.
Yeah, we'll see how deep they can go. We'll get to predictions in a little bit, but we are coming up right after this with our go-to Penn State guy. We'll be breaking down some of the recent news in Penn State, including some Penn State football, right after this.
Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
Big Ten football is back. First big noon Saturday in a long time. It's going to be nice to be able to sit back, relax. Penn State and Indiana. There's a lot of other news in the Penn State sports world. Hopefully we'll have some time to do it. But first of all, our go-to Penn State correspondent, Jake Starr. It's great to have you on. How are you doing today?
What's up, guys? I've missed you guys. Missed being on. It's nice to finally be back amongst all this crazy stuff going on.
Jake, it's been a long time, buddy. How you doing? How's everything going up in Penn State?
I'm good, Gavin. Things are going well. How's everything going with you?
Oh man, the hybrid schedule is really sticking it to me and Zach right now. But we're gonna kill it. But Jake, I know we got limited time with you, but I gotta ask you right away. What's the feeling around that the football is back at State College?
I mean, there's definitely excitement. It's definitely different this year because a football Saturday is going to look a lot different. It's not going to be 100,000 people in downtown State College and heading over to Beaver Stadium. It's going to be different, but I think that when it felt like Penn State was not going to have football this year, just getting the opportunity to get it back is going to be exciting. And even though, next week when Ohio State comes to town, not going to be able to pack Beaver Stadium, but I think just getting the chance to watch a big game with Penn State, it's going to be exciting, and we'll see. It's going to be difficult to really celebrate the occasion, but we'll do it safely, responsibly, and the best way we can.
Now, for sure, I got to ask you this question. Indiana, I'm not going to say it's a layup because no game should be taken for granted. A lot of Big Ten teams should know that. Think of course, Minnesota last year and even Michigan, App State way back when. So not overlooking the opponent and overlooking to Ohio State yet, but how do the matchups look against Indiana? Is this going to be a game that they should confidently be able to take advantage of? I know that the running back, unfortunately, Journey Brown will be out for the year, but the running back depth, in my opinion, should not be an issue for this Penn State team. So what are the feelings going up against Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be a layup. This is an Indiana team that has hung with Penn State the last couple of times they've played. 2018, last time Penn State went out to Bloomington, that was a one-score game, and I really expect this to be a one-score game. I think that both teams are going to be rusty. I think Penn State obviously is a better football team, but they're still installing a new offensive coordinator, Kirk Chiraka. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think Penn State does win, but it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I've seen people say it's going to be a blowout, and look, I would have no issue if it's a blowout, and if it is, I won't be surprised just because Penn State's a more talented team. But just the way Indiana has played Penn State and Tom Allen's squad has played them this year, I expect it to be close. In terms of matchups, I mean, Indiana has a new quarterback this year. And then Penn State, you look on the other side, you talk about the running back room. Journey Brown's not going to be playing, but don't sleep on the rest of those running backs. Noah Cain's a guy who can easily be an 800, 900-yard this season workhorse, get 15, 20 carries a game. Devin Ford's solid. Then you have two freshmen at Keziah Holmes and Kevon Lee, who are both going to be really solid. The matchups I'm really intrigued to watch on Saturday, and then especially next week against Ohio State, are on the perimeter. And I said the same thing on my show yesterday. That's what concerns me the most, is going to be the wide receivers and the cornerbacks for Penn State. They're all extremely young, and they're all extremely inexperienced. On corner, you have Tariq Castro-Fields and a bunch of young guys. Wide receiver, you have Jahan Dotson and a bunch of young guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how those guys perform on the outside. Will the youth and talent kind of prevail, or will that lack of experience show? And I think we'll find that out tomorrow.
Well, I hope, first of all, Jake, with Eagles football going up and down, the only thing I've been looking forward to was Penn State football. And at first, we thought we weren't going to get Penn State football. And a couple weeks ago, the commissioner of the Big Ten changed his mind. And I know a big thing about Penn State football is the fans. So I got to ask you, Jake, what's the feeling of maybe not being able to go see a game? Because I feel like when the whiteout game, you watch the game and you're like, the fans kind of roar this team to a win. So, Jake, what do you think? Is that going to affect the team?
I mean, it's going to be tough. There's not going to be home field advantage per se for any of the teams in the Big Ten just because no one has fans, so it's kind of an even playing field. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you that there's some teams who benefit more than fans than others. A team like Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, not having close to 100,000 fans in each game is going to make a big difference. Teams like Northwestern, Illinois, Rutgers, who don't see big crowds, it's not going to make much of a difference. But you kind of just look at next week, for example, which is supposed to be the whiteout. Penn State, Ohio State, 107,000 fans. You think back to last year when Penn State played Michigan and Michigan caught a timeout on the first play of that game. There's no doubt that a big reason why Penn State won that game only by 7 points is because of the fans. So, Ohio State is a better football team than Penn State. I'm not going to doubt that. I'm calling that game next week. I've been preparing all week for that game. The talent level on Ohio State is superior to what Penn State has. And where Penn State is able to keep it close, especially in 2018 and how they won in 2016, is with that home field advantage. So it's going to be a lot more of just which team performs better. They're not going to have the crowd behind them to drive the defense or to confuse Justin Fields in the offense. It's going to come down to which team can play more soundly and eliminate mistakes. And when you're the inferior team like Penn State is to Ohio State, they're going to have to play a clean football game next week because with no fans there, they're not going to have the fans behind them to help them out.
I did ask this big one, big thing as well. Of course, the big storyline early in the year. No Micah Parsons this year. How is that gonna play? I mean, this is a top 5 arguably pick. He's compared to Isaiah Simmons from Clemson that kind of do it all, linebacker, the kind of control of your defense. That's a big loss for them. How are they going to be able to adapt, and what's expected to be seen of this defense?
Absolutely. And I mean, if the Eagles lost last night, I would have been all in on tanking for Micah. The Eagles could use a game-changing linebacker. But regardless of that, back to Penn State. Penn State lost their offensive and defensive MVP from the Cotton Bowl last year in Journey Brown and Micah Parsons. And while both of those losses hurt, there is a lot of talent, especially at that linebacker position, where I don't think it's going to be as big of a loss as people think. Losing arguably a top 5 pick is going to suck. But when you look at the depth that Penn State has at that linebacker position and they've built up over the years, I'm not so sure there's going to be a big drop-off that a lot of people are talking about. Jesse Luketa is a really good up-and-comer from Canada. Ellis Brooks is a solid middle linebacker who's going to step in, and he's not going to be Micah Parsons, but he can really solidify that linebacker corps. Weak side linebacker, they have a guy by the name of Brandon Smith. He was a 5-star recruit, ended up redshirting last year, played in like 3 or 4 games to maintain that eligibility, but he's a guy he can hit. And he's number 12. Look out for him tomorrow because I think he's going to be all over the field. So while losing Micah Parsons hurts, it gives these other guys an opportunity to step up, and I think they have the talent at that linebacker position where they can fill that role and fill it pretty well.
No doubt. And Jake, there was another big storyline coming out of Penn State this weekend. Actually, it wasn't the football team. It was the basketball team. They fired their head coach either got fired or got let go. I don't know, whatever you guys want to interpret it. I call it a fire because whenever someone loses a job, I call it a fire. Anyway, Jake, I got to ask you first, what was your reaction to Tom Chambers being let go or released or whatever? And who do you think will be a great fit for this Penn State basketball team coming in? Remember, they were good last year, and we thought they were going to make this step and maybe entering the tournament this year, and you fire your coach. So, Jake, what was your initial thought, and who's going to be the replacement?
Yeah, I mean, Pat Chambers, I think the official wording by Sandy Barber was he stepped down just because he was going to be fired, but I guess they gave him an opportunity to step down. And Sandy Barber technically has never fired anybody in her time at Penn State in terms of a head coach, so that kind of was just to help keep her record clean in terms of that. But, I mean, I was surprised. It was not something I was expecting on a Wednesday afternoon, a month before the season started. But obviously when you connect the dots, things connect. There was an internal investigation because he made a comment to a former player, Rasir Bolton, that was racially insensitive. And they did say that wasn't why he got fired, but I wonder if that news story breaking back in June kind of led to investigation into other misconduct by Chambers. Wasn't recruiting violations, so I do wonder if there was some maybe things said and done that maybe weren't the best, which got him to be let go. And I mean, I remember 2 years ago, back early 2019, he got suspended a game for shoving Miles Dredd against Michigan. So maybe there were some temper issues there. I don't know. I know Jim Ferry used to coach at Duquesne from 2012 to 2017. He's going to take over as the interim head coach. And Sandy Barber said that there's a chance that he stays as the head coach. So it's all going to depend on how this year fares. I mean, if Jim Ferry does well, then great. But the thing is, Penn State basketball is not a desirable location. You're not going to lure an up-and-coming coach or a really good coach because they don't pay a lot of money. Maybe you'll get $1 million a year. So, Jay Wright's not coming here. A former NBA coach isn't coming here. Penn State, if they don't stick with this Jim Ferry guy, if Penn State doesn't stick with this Jim Ferry guy, they're going to have to look for a coach who's probably coaching at like a smaller school right now, like a Buffalo, Duquesne, a small school who's maybe only making a couple $100,000 a year. Give them that Penn State job to kind of serve as a Division I stepping stone, but you're not going to attract any high-end talent or any young talent just because it's not an attractive job, just because Penn State has never committed money or resources to the basketball program. They had a good year last year, but between Chambers being let go and Lamar Stevens and Mike Watkins graduating, I don't really see them repeating that success this year.
Well, Burt Brown is an option, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to put that out there, but go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, no doubt. Gavin, unless you have anything else to talk about with Penn State, I do have a quick thing for Jake. A little bit of background. Gavin and I tomorrow will be playing some 18 holes of mini golf. Predictions for the event.
I said 4 under, Jake.
Where are you guys playing at?
We're playing at the golf zone, and I think it's in Honeybrook or something. It's like 20 minutes away. It's not too bad.
I'm gonna have to go with Gavin. I mean, I've seen your putting, Zach, and I don't think it's anything special. And I think Gavin's been working on it. I think he's gonna have it down. Playing 18 holes. Give me Gavin gets a 51. Zach gets a 53.
So
Damn, we're gonna be 20 under. We're gonna be a lot more under, Gavin, than you anticipated.
Jake, look, see, this is why Jake's one of my favorite guests right here, because he knows Zach. He knows Zach's putting isn't on point. Look, Jake, like I said, I haven't picked up a golf club in a couple months. But you know, there's a little truth to that. That means my back is great, ladies and gentlemen. Jake, real
Definitely
quick,
keep us
before I let you
updated
go,
on this.
Oh, we
I
will.
will.
We're
Look,
gonna be very updated.
But Jake, before I let you go, and I know you're a busy man up in State College, I gotta ask you, Eagles. What's your thoughts? How do you feel about the season? I know you went to a game in Pittsburgh, Lucky Duck. What's the feeling for you about the Eagles right now?
The first thing I'm going to tell you is that Carson Wentz is not the problem in Philly. And if somebody thinks Carson Wentz is the problem in Philly, that has a lot more to say about their football IQ than how Carson Wentz is playing. He is the sole reason why the Eagles have been in these last few games. He's the sole reason why they won last night, because between bad play calling, an offensive line that sucks, lack of a running game, so many botched 2-point conversions, bad play calls, so many missed 2-point conversions too, and field goals. I think I said that already. But at the end of the day, Carson Wentz is the only constant on that team. And he still makes a couple bad decisions. That interception wasn't great. But look, with all the great you're going to get with Carson Wentz, you're going to get those stupid plays every once in a while where he's trying to be aggressive and he's trying to make a play and it's just not there. But look, if the Eagles make the playoffs this year, it's going to be because of him. Wide receiver wise, I think they're pretty good. Travis Fulgham is a star in the making. John Hightower had a big catch last night. Greg Ward catches everything thrown his way. You're going to get Alshon Jeffrey back. Deshaun Jackson's probably out for a while. But if the Eagles can just find a way to solidify that offensive line and get some semblance of a running game, they're going to be pretty good. And they're going to get healthy. So, look, they eked out a win last night. They should have honestly blown out the Giants. They had so many missed opportunities. But, look, I'm glad they got a win. Carson Wentz showed us that he can march a team down the field late and score. He's done it 2 straight weeks now. He's stayed competitive with a really good Steelers team. So I think he's getting better every week. And I think if the Eagles can continue to solidify everything around him, maybe make it some trades for a linebacker or some offensive line help, I think they're in good shape. The wide receivers are really coming along nicely too, which impresses me.
Without a doubt, well, Jake Starr, co-host of the SNS Show, live every Thursday on Com Radio. Thank you for coming on and
catch him next week.
We'll have you on.
Catch him next week.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely come back on next week if you guys like. But thanks for having me on today.
Thank you for joining us. 51-53, Zach. You heard it right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Predictions for the golf. It's funny how we echo the same thoughts on Carson Wentz, he and I.
I mean, look, that's why.
True. I mean, that's the truth. You gotta know football.
The truth. And Zach, right there, the man has spoken. Jake Starr has spoken. All right, he said it best. Carson Wentz is not the problem. And if you think he is, there's something wrong with your football IQ. It doesn't get no better than that, Zach. It really doesn't.
It's the truth. He's the only constant. So, I mean, people got to reevaluate if they actually think that Carson Wentz is the problem. He's not. Newsflash. And once he makes a mistake, same people. Oh, Jalen Hurts. And how'd that work in the playoffs? And I don't want to insult Jalen Hurts, but I have to. But if someone's going to throw shade at Carson Wentz and try to bring him into it, unfortunately, Jalen Hurts is going to get caught in the cross conversation. And
the only thing, Zach, that keeps me from the Jalen Hurts is I have to see him throw more. He only completed 1 pass.
He could very easily be a good quarterback in this league. Not for the Eagles.
Oh, easily.
But if you can trade him in a year or so, I mean, yeah, why not? Quarterback factory. Remember that.
Always.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It was honestly
World Series prediction, sir. Don't forget, we got one more.
I trust the Dodgers tonight. It's going to be a squeaker, 3-2, possibly tied up for a while, and then one inning where they really go off. I'm taking 3-2 Dodgers, and the Dodgers take a 2-1 lead in the series.
I'm gonna go Dodgers as well, Zach, but it's gonna be a really big 6th inning. That's when Charlie Morton takes the exit.
All right, we'll see what happens, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today here on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show.
51-53, ladies and gentlemen. You know it's going down.
I didn't realize that mini golf scores go that low, but I guess I haven't played real mini golf in a long time. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great weekend.
Have a good one, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live.